I mean, I am a little racist, aren't we all? But racism is actually a good thing. It's like self-preservation. It's like the reason why gazelles are afraid of lions, not because they're racist against lions, because they've noticed a pattern.
But no, we are, this is crazy, get ready, the same species, okay? Lily?
Prior to the inward kerfuffle, where I was quickly launched into the internet sphere, into the Twitter sphere, and deemed as the most hated woman on the internet.
I find a lot of the stories, the sort of cultural, politically adjacent stories that go viral, really mind-numbing and just sort of ridiculous, not worth my time. But then, what I've come to terms with, especially after Trump, unfortunately, won the last election, is that those sorts of issues, what I think are kind of petty discussions about random things that go viral on social media, or overblown obsessions with an issue that has been essentially made an issue, as I've told you about like the trans bathroom issue that has been blown up by the right wing for the purposes of distracting from other issues. If the Republican Party just ran on, for example, their economic policies, no one would vote for them. So it has to be about being afraid of these different groups and all that stuff. But apparently that sways people a lot. Even the trans video about Vice President Harris, about her stance on some trans issue, apparently made a lot of difference for a lot of people. So that just being used as an example has convinced me that I have to engage with this stuff, which is a part of what prompted my show with one of these really extreme MAGA right-wing figures being Isabella Moody. And it's already gotten just shocking. It's gone to shocking places just in the couple episodes that we've uploaded. But as irritating as that can be to deal with, and the rhetoric as hateful as it can be, if this is going to be such a prevailing conversation that moves people, and our reaction is, oh, we're just going to ignore the hateful rhetoric, or we're going to ignore the lack of logic in some of the arguments, then we're just going to keep losing. So I'm determined, however upsetting it gets, to try to pierce through some of these MAGA echo chambers, to talk about issues I normally find sort of inconsequential, and to dive in the deep end on that. So that's what I've been doing. The show's called The Grudge, as many of you are aware of. And I want to play one of the clips from it. Maybe you've seen this, but I'll weave in my thoughts now about this to clarify some of what was being addressed. I think this was our debut episode of it after doing an interview with the Moody's as a couple. Again, very extreme fringe right-wing type figures. But here, a really interesting misunderstanding from MAGA at large is touched on as we walk through a story that I've talked about before and is a few months old maybe, but really, really emphasizes a lack of understanding about something. So let me play this for you. You'll see some of the discussion and I'll clarify as we go along. But do you know personally this Lilly Gaddis person?
I've seen her clips go viral on Twitter, and she also has a show on Compound Censored, Censor.tv, which I have as well. So that's pretty much it. I've DM'd her, but that's it. Okay,
so aside from the controversy that I've told my followers about with her before, I want to go through that, remind them of it, but then get to what I think is an absurdity of something you advocate and she advocates as well. And it plays into MAGA's just obsession with being the victims in their stories. So as a reminder, I think she was described as the N-word lady for some time, but she posted this video that caused the initial controversy.
Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke ass and they don't care. We don't give a about your money. I couldn't care less about your money, okay?
So on TikTok, that's against their terms of service. She was held accountable there for it, banned off of TikTok. And then she got fired because she was refusing, from my understanding, to apologize or walk back or anything. And she ended up posting this video and says why she doesn't have any remorse.
So a recent video of mine seems to have upset members of a certain community, and all the backlash just really made me, just really do a deep dive, like do a soul search. And after all that, I still couldn't find a care.
You're going to call us racist. You're going to call us...
Is this hashtag based to you?
So true, especially Andrew Breitbart. Like, what he says right here is great.
Okay, let's listen.
Potential Timothy McVeigh's... You. War.
So,
All right, so we're about to get into, and podcast listeners, now this is present day me, not the flashback. I know that can be confusing when it's my voice toggling, but what we're about to get into is the part I find interesting about this. I've already covered this story. Again, it's one of those instances of someone repeatedly will violate terms of service, and you can take issue with what the terms of service are if that's your problem, but that's how platforms work. Social media platforms will have terms of service. They can enforce it. And then the job issue. I just don't know the full context of what, but that's sort of between her and her employer. But what was more interesting to me was that both Lilly Gaddis and Isabella Moody feel like the people who got mad at Lilly Gaddis for saying this were anti-free speech, right? You'll hear her reference that people who are mad at me for this and want me to apologize, I don't care. And then she puts up a quote on screen that you're going to see that's about the importance of the First Amendment or something. But the whole point I try to illustrate here is that the First Amendment means you can say that. You totally have the right to say that. And other people can be outraged and mad at you for saying it. And people sending you comments or DMing you and stuff, that's not them necessarily being opposed to free speech, but using their free speech to criticize, rightfully so, yours. That's America.
so let me ask you this.
Well, and then you have this quote on screen. Let me read it. If the First Amendment is intended to protect anything, it's intended to protect offensive speech. If you're not going to offend anyone, you don't need protection. I guess we can get into it. I have failed to explain to MAGA folks why I believe they shouldn't use the N-word. I don't know if we'll make progress on that, but I do want to get into, I agree with the quote here from Larry Flint, but y'all don't seem to understand it.
No,
But
you
first,
don't agree with it, though.
Okay, you want to start there, or do you have
Yeah,
anything to say on the controversy itself?
Yeah, no, what? You don't agree with that, though. That's offensive speech, and you have a problem with it.
What is
Dear
the First
MAGA
Amendment?
folk, we should not be using these certain words. Oh my gosh, it's so terrible.
What do you think the first... So, just to quickly, I know it's so weird for me doing this on my own, but it was hard when I play these for you to not jump in. Just hold on to that, because this is what it's a lot of people think this. A lot of people think that when someone even gets canceled, that's people infringing on their free speech. Someone could be wrongfully canceled, but it had nothing to do with their free speech or not free speech. This was other people choosing to either not go to the shows anymore, if we're talking about a comedian, or to tweet at them and cancel them. But a lot of people think that if you get mad and you think, don't say that, if you tell someone, don't say those words, that's hateful, that you're against free speech for it. Now, if I were saying the government should prosecute you for saying slurs, that would be against what we're talking about. That would be anti-free speech. But you get it. Criticism of your speech is not anti-free speech. This amendment says.
Okay, I don't know the
You
exact...
don't have to do the exact quote, but what's the spirit of it?
I mean, First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, freedom of the press. Is that all First Amendment? Like what?
I'm not trying to quiz you. I'm saying, of course, you're right to be an idiot. Lilly Gaddis is right to be this victim in her story because everyone's against her because she's using racial slurs.
You think she thinks that she's a victim right now?
Of course, her whole thing is I'm censored.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Barely. I've never seen her say, oh my gosh, I'm so censored. She just doubles down. If she really was so upset about it, maybe she would apologize. And that makes me want to ask you, like, why do you want her to apologize? What does that do for you? Because the left is always asking people to, you better apologize and walk back what you said. But whenever anyone does that, it doesn't matter. They still hate them.
I don't care about her at all. And didn't know about her. But in seeing this story go viral, others seem to want her to apologize because, and this is an argument I do agree with, people shouldn't be using, or to put it better because that'll confuse you, We
'Cause I'm
should
stupid?
we should disagree. Your word, not mine. We should disagree with people using racial slurs. Now, what's being discussed here? Oh my gosh.
She's
What a
not talking
crazy
about black
position.
people. She's saying like broke guys. It's just a word. She's not literally being these broke
And-
black men. No, it's just brokies, like broke guys.
I don't have to explain to you the meaning and history of that word. I think you understand why people take issue with it.
Please
That's
mansplain it
why-
to me.
That's why you like
Yeah.
that this is sort of why she went viral, because people are outraged, because there's a reason to be outraged. But here, we're talking about the government, as I told you in the other episode, not infringing on your free speech rights. And of course, you can have sort of the spirit of free speech. So platforms should do their best to protect people's freedom of speech. But all you're talking about in so many situations, and what sells this MAGA line of we're the free speech warriors when we're not, is that you don't think other people should use their free speech to take issue with you.
Yes, I do. We talked
So
about
then
this
what's the
last
problem?
time.
Exactly,
There's
that's
no
what I'm saying.
problem.
Okay, then what's
You
been
can
done wrong with her?
criticize it. I love when people criticize the things I say. I think it's funny. That's why my posts go viral.
But
Thank
again,
you.
we
Thank you,
just
crazy
watched
leftists.
this video.
Yeah?
Let's watch it again.
Okay.
So, a recent video of mine seems to have upset members of a certain community, and all the backlash just really made me, just really do a deep dive, like do a soul search. And after all that,
What is she saying? The backlash is why
She's-
she finds it relevant to say the First Amendment. What? The backlash is free speech represented.
I cannot believe that people actually hold this opinion. This is an entire new thought process regarding the First Amendment that I've ever heard in my entire life. She's just kind of being like, hey, F you guys. I don't care what you guys have to say. Like, I'm doubling down. I don't really care. She's not saying, I cannot believe I have backlash. We should censor all this backlash speech against me. That's not what she's
not saying that.
No one has ever
But
said you
when-
cannot criticize
No,
what we say.
but
No one
when-
has ever said
but
that
when,
ever.
When all of you cry about the left being for censorship, the
We cry.
majority of what you're talking about is people disagreeing with your speech, which is their speech, which is fine.
No, people, at least
People
from-
got mad at her, and now she's going, oh, they must be against free speech. That's why she's putting that quote.
yes,
they're
because
disagreeing.
they're mad that she said a word that they today in
Okay,
society
hold
you
on
can't
to that.
say.
Hold on to that. You just exhibited the principle I'm talking about. You're saying,
Okay, please.
See? Do you
Please.
understand?
No, I don't, because you're not making any sense.
She's upset that people were upset at her, and then cites
She's not
the First
upset.
Amendment. You're saying
she's
that the people
joking. She's like,
You
she's like, oh,
argued.
I don't care if you guys are upset. I'm gonna still do what I'm gonna do.
You-
She's not upset. No one's crying.
You argued just like 5-10 seconds ago that people are against free speech. You said they are because they were mad at her. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, they're against free speech because they don't want her to say it. The reason why she went viral is for saying
They're
nigga.
using their free speech.
She's not mad at them for the backlash.
Oh my gosh,
They're
we're
mad at
going
her
in
for using the
circles.
word.
This is
Oh,
mind-numbing.
I cannot believe there's people in
Please.
this country that think this way.
No. This is crazy.
I feel like I'm talking to Joe Biden here.
I don't understand how you aren't hearing what I'm saying.
Because we just think so differently, and that shows because I can't
No,
understand
you-
how you don't think how I think.
I don't know what you're doing. So just jumping back in here, and then I'll play the rest of it. And it gets to a place where then even Isabella, can't defend what Lilly says because she's like, in this other video, she's arguing racism is good because it's instinctual or something. And we'll get to that. But what happens, and I've talked to other people about this, whenever Trump says the government should come down hard on MSNBC, that's anti-free speech, right? That's what that is. Because that's the government infringing on the right of MSNBC to participate in their free speech right. But what they do is, again, even if you get mad at a platform for the terms of service it has, but it makes sense. We've seen what platforms descend into. They're just not really fun to use whenever they don't have a term of service that prevents certain types of hateful speech. But that's totally within these private companies' right, is to have a term of service. You agree when you sign up to be on their platform that you're going to abide by certain rules, right? And then if you feel this is a bad platform because it's too restrictive, then that's totally your right as well to not use it or to speak out against it, try to leverage to get it changed. But that's so different. But because of those instances, or because they think that people shouting at you that you're bigoted and that's them not thinking you should have the right to say the bigoted things, even though it's not, that's what the left does. They then justify Trump actually saying he wants to do censorship, actually wanting to get CBS off the air, actually wanting to get ABC off the air, which he's openly said, or the quote that I keep coming back to, calling the media criminals. And so it's like them putting in the governmental censorship box when it doesn't apply, thus it doesn't really apply to the First Amendment, all the things the left does that makes them upset as it pertains to outside of the First Amendment debates that we're going to have and controversies that are going to come up. And in some instances, maybe someone gets too much backlash for something, or they lose their job when they shouldn't have. There's examples of that as well. But still, all of those don't equate to then what they justify their side doing, which is governmental censorship, which is really where you really get into tyrannical territory. And that I've had a hard time explaining, as you're seeing here, but we're going to move on pretty quickly.
I'm being correct.
Sorry, make sure, by the way, that you're subscribed to this channel by clicking that subscribe button. And then, while you watch the rest of this, if you're thinking, be interested, sometimes I'm warning you, it gets psycho. But you can, in the podcasts on YouTube, they have like the different home videos, live. You can go to podcasts, and it's called The Grudge. Click on it, and you have the different episodes we've done there. You're saying, okay. Hopefully the audience understands the point.
Oh, your audience, obviously.
Or any audience.
Yeah.
I think most people who are able to tie their shoes understand that that using one's free speech to get upset at someone else's speech is as American as apple pie.
I don't disagree with you. What are you talking about?
Then stop saying the people who don't want her to use racial slurs are against freedom of speech.
Because the only reason she went viral was because she used that one word that we're not allowed to use in society. So you're
allowed to, and then we're allowed to be mad at you for it.
Yes, that's okay. She got banned off TikTok.
So
cool.
The backlash was fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Who cares? It's a word. Does the word make you feel any like?
Because
I don't get
words
it.
are one of the most powerful things that we have. Everything. All right, this is taking way too long. Let me jump over to where it looks like we're getting there anyways. Lilly, what's her face?
I don't think I've seen this one.
What's up, Compound Censored? I am so happy to be here. I've been a baby monster myself for years prior to the N-word kerfuffle, where I was quickly launched into the internet sphere, into the Twitter sphere, and deemed as the most hated woman on the internet, as far as some losers and their assessments of me online have said. Anyway, I wanted to get right into it. So we obviously have to start with the N-word. Okay, that's a huge part of the story, apparently, because the worst thing with wars going on, with children being trafficked, with millions of babies being aborted through abortion every year, the main thing we should be focused on is a white girl who says the N-word, because, of course, that's the worst thing that's ever.
Who's arguing the main thing we should be focusing on is that?
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. To her, like, you have to know, and I know this too from personal experience, when you have something that you've said that's offensive that blows up, you feel like that's the only thing everyone will ever talk about ever again. I know I felt that with like certain like videos that went viral in the past, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my world is ending. Like, I just need to never be on social media again. So I think I agree with you. No one said that, but to her, it's like the only thing that's happening. So more common ground. We need to stop this.
Because, of course, that's the worst thing that's ever happened on planet Earth, in fact. When, in fact, all it was me saying a casual term, broke-ass, and actually referring to using the word in the way it's meant as like dude or hey you, something like that. You get what I'm coming from. Of course, people like...
See, I'm so smart, I didn't need to have this explanation from her
can't wait
to get where
spin
she
this
said
into
what
a
she
whole
said.
racist narrative about this racist Southern trad wife, which is all completely wrong except for the Southern part. I mean, I am a little racist, aren't we all? But racism is actually a good thing. It's like self-preservation. It's like the reason why gazelles are afraid of lions, not because they're racist against lions, because they've noticed a pattern that certain cultures...
Listen,
I'm listening.
with your ears. See if this makes sense. So far, does that make sense to you? Is that analogy strong?
Let's keep going.
Okay, gazelles to lions.
It's lions because they've noticed a pattern that certain cultures, certain species do not go well together, you know? And there are certain races that just don't like each other and they don't do well. And the internet is full of videos, although it's they're working overtime to try to scrub them off the internet of videos of black people, of Muslims attacking white Christian people. So that's the real narrative, but that's not the one that the left wants to spin and the woke mob wants to run with.
See, this would have been so much funnier if she used like all of the racial slurs for all the groups she just mentioned. That would have been really funny and
You're
on
so
brand for her.
gross.
I know, I'm so gross. No, I mean, listen, I don't agree. They're not like different races are not different species. Come on.
This is crazy. Did you teach her some stuff since the last episode?
But I want to make a point. There is a difference between.
Who thought people can't change?
Okay, no, this has always been my belief. There's cultural differences. So Jamaicans are different than Black Americans. There's a completely different culture so it's not about race, it's about the culture. Even like white people that live in like the New York City ghettos, it's like the that's what they call themselves. Yeah, completely different cultures. So
Are you able to speak just as a normal person?
What do you mean?
Without all of these, where do you find all these terms?
I don't know. I read. Do you?
You read.
Just kidding. I don't. I'm a woman. I can't read. I don't know. This is just what I know.
I think you're so afraid. You're so afraid
So scared.
to look yourself in the mirror and blame yourself for your failures. You remember this?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You're just projecting onto all women.
Yeah. So it's become easier for you to insult half the population.
Oh yeah.
To say, oh, all women must be like me. I promise they're not. Most aren't.
Yeah. No, I strive to insult actually 69% of the population. So get that number correct. I know you don't like to know the stats here, but I mean, I don't. Like I said last time, I don't take things that seriously.
When I got into the right wing,
So aside from all the random stuff there, the argument that was made was insane. I've already addressed it before, and so insane that Isabella wasn't on board with it, which is that the reason racism is healthy is because it's like a gazelle being scared of a lion. Oh no. Again, oh, Luke, why are you even talking about this? Don't platform it. Have you met the amount of people who would nod along to that point? At some point, we have to acknowledge and then confront. But no, we are, this is crazy. Get ready. The same species. Okay, Lily. And one of the things that in terms of tribalism, they'll say sometimes it's natural too, it's fine too, because in nature you see the tribalism, wolf pack mentality. In so many ways, and they accept this in almost every other facet of life, what makes us more high functioning, more intelligent, more productive, more innovative than other mammals and other animals in general is that we overcome some of these more primal instincts, like I have to divide because of immutable characteristics or tribalism. And also, we learn that people who are just exposed to other people and other cultures then don't have the racist inclinations that someone else would, obviously, because you learn that we are all the same in terms of our underlying humanity. And that underlying humanity and the individual value that each person holds means judging one because of immutable characteristics is bad. And it leads to very harmful things. But that was difficult for her to understand. And people being upset with her is proof that they don't like free speech, which is very, very strange. But then, in terms of people who are trying to take away my free speech, now they're also just using theirs to criticize me. I do want to address about this show altogether. Some people are very upset. And I understand in a sense. But to those who keep articulating the argument that it's bad to even interact with these far-right ideologies, even if it's in a confrontational way, an oppositional way, as obviously this is, that trying to expose these sorts of things is bad because then you're giving them a platform. I've explained it before, so I don't really know what I'm doing wrong in my explanations, but I just disagree with you. I think we've learned through this harmful MAGA ideology's prevalence in our political system that at some point we don't accept, obviously it's the opposite of that, the harmful ideas, but we confront them, but we try to dismantle them. And to confront something, you first have to acknowledge that it exists. And just going, la, 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 these really hateful things don't exist. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So hopefully you get me on that. And I know a lot have also written in saying they understand the concept of the grudge and they're supportive of it. But there's a little taste if you haven't caught one of the full episodes that drops on Sundays. It's been quite the experience already. The last one was insane. But I'll just wait to tell you more about what I'm trying to do on the actual episodes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show by getting that Members Only bonus show by clicking the join button below.